Back before Google, LinkedIn, and cell phones, I stumbled on recruiting. I always knew I wanted to create a recruiting firm that created an incredible candidate and client experience while allowing me, as well as my team, an opportunity to live an abundant life on our own terms, to have the freedom to work where, when, and how we want, and to be rewarded financially for a job well done. It has been a long, sometimes messy marathon, but wow, have I learned a lot about recruiting, branding, sales, scaling, leadership, overcoming challenges, and most importantly, overcoming myself. I absolutely love our industry, and this podcast is for you, my fellow recruiters ready to learn, grow, and push yourself to your next level. Let's do this together. We are talking about all things recruiting. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of All Things Recruiting. I am so happy that you are here. And there's so many new things going on that I wanted to share a couple things with you. So I don't know if this ever happens to you, but it seems like it happens to me, which is every 10 years or so, whether I want change or not, change finds me. So I was thinking about that before I hit record today. And I was thinking about all the new things that have happened in the past year and even in this past 2 months of 2025. And it's all exciting, and it makes me feel like I'm moving forward, not backwards, and I'm definitely not staying in the same place. And again, I don't know, it seems like I look back, I'm in my mid 50s, and I look back and I go, wow, there's different periods and different chapters of your life. And I look back through my personal life, and I also look back through my business life, because as many of you know, I've had my recruiting firm, The Finders, for 27 years. So it is pretty much like half my life almost that I've been owning this recruiting company that I absolutely love and doing recruiting. And I have noticed that there are patterns of growth. And I do know that growth is not linear. And I think that's something really important to remember. If you feel as though you are doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing, you're making all of the calls, you're sending out all the emails, you're having those conversations with your candidates, and it seems like nothing's happening, I want to encourage you, just keep going, keep doing it. Do not quit. Do not think too much. Stay really busy, stay very active, and just keep doing it. Because I've noticed in my own life, there will be, like I just said, there's these periods of time where I feel like nothing's happening, and people will come up to me and they'll ask me what's new? And there are many, many times where I'm like, nothing. I wish there was something new, but I'm just doing the same thing I've been doing for, 27, 30 years. So there's a lot of new things going on. And I don't know if it's, like I said, every 10 years, there seems to be a pattern in my life where new things find me. But right now, I feel like we're in a really good space, and I'm in a really good space. I feel like I've been super focused on my business. I've been super focused on really big changes that I've made over the past year. And I finally feel like there's some progress and movement, and it's what I have been working so hard for. So there are bad days, of course, but every day I'm waking up excited and feeling like there's momentum. So the other thing I wanted to share with you, so that's kind of, in a nutshell, lots of new things going on. So I want to get into some of the things that are new, because I think that you'll find them exciting too, and can share in the newness with me. And one area is this podcast. So I've had it for about 5 months, and I started it. It's actually my third podcast that I've started. This one is going to continue on for a really long time, but I had 2 others that were more candidate focused, or just, focused more on change. And I just didn't feel a calling for that anymore. So I stopped for a while. And now with All Things Recruiting, we're in our 5th or 6th month. And every week I do look at the stats, and in my mind, what I want is I want to see progress. Same with my recruiting firm, same with the positions I'm working on, same with my team. I want to see progress. That's all I'm looking for. So I try to keep the end result open, like with this podcast. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling. I feel like I'm weaving in and out of conversations with myself. So back to what I was saying, the podcast, as long as I feel like I'm making progress and I'm looking at the stats and there's more people listening and downloading, then I feel like my job that I'm doing is good and I'll just continue on. So in the past week, we've had more listeners than we have in a long time. So definitely there's new members, there's new listeners, and I really appreciate that. If it's your first time or kind of a new time that you're listening to this podcast, I really appreciate it. A couple new things that are going on with the podcast. I decided to do them bi-weekly, so every other week. And that's just because I want to really put time and attention into each podcast. And I also have, of course, my other recruiting firm, and I have my family and all the other stuff. And I really looked at my schedule and I was kind of stressing myself out. And I decided that I could do it bi-weekly, have more thought and attention into each episode, and still be able to do everything. Because one of my words for my year, I usually, as some of you know, I pick 3 words for 2025. And one of the words is and, meaning that I want to focus on a few things, but I want to be able to focus on several. And the way that I work best is usually focusing on one thing at a time. So I'm challenging myself to say, yes, I can have my recruiting firm grow the way that I want it to. I can set big goals for it. And I can also have this podcast and still have time for my family, for friends, for fun, for fitness, all the things. So I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress with that. But the podcast is growing, so I really appreciate that. And I've made a lot of changes this month, like I was just saying. I have a new podcast manager. So this is the first episode with my new podcast manager. I have a new social media manager. So you might see on LinkedIn and Instagram, there's going to be some new content, and we're just playing around with some new things. So please give me feedback. And what else? I have a new podcast platform. So we're using Buzzsprout, and we were using Libsyn. And I'm still learning all of this podcast technology, and, I'm not the best at it, but I'm practicing. So we changed that, and this is actually the first time that I'm using Riverside. So we also started using that as of this episode. So if you have any questions on what my thoughts are with it, or anything, reach out. So this is the first time that we're using Riverside. So far, I like it. It's very user friendly, and it's also going to be video. So usually what I have been doing is for my just solo episodes, I just usually do audio. So this is definitely, because it is video, it's different. And I like the audio actually better, but because I have Riverside, I am doing video. So that will be up on YouTube. And then when I have guests, like next week, I will be having a guest who's amazing. We're actually recording this Friday. That'll also be video. So if you guys ever want to watch it instead of listen to it, then you can go to YouTube. And today, this is kind of something that I think is important to share. Usually, if I know I'm going to be on video, I will do my hair, do my makeup, put my work outfit on, and really prepare and not procrastinate, but everything has to kind of be, as good as it gets. And then today, my new podcast manager, he said, well, I have to get this today. I'm recording it Wednesday February 19th. He said, you have to have it today so I can have it all ready with all the new things. And I went and got a really good workout in, and I came back and I was like, I need to record this now. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see I'm in my workout gear, a side ponytail, and hardly any makeup on. And that's okay. So I'm challenging myself to just, and I've been pretty good at it, actually. I've been really practicing, but just going with the flow, getting it done. It doesn't have to be perfect. And next week, maybe I'll have my hair done and my makeup on. So that's that. And then also too with the podcast, you'll notice I did a new intro. I did a new outro, which I did not have before. And gosh, all the kinds of new stuff. So anyway, I think trying new things and doing new things add excitement. So if you are in a place where you are feeling stuck, if you're feeling stale, if you're feeling like nothing's new when someone asks you what's new, just start to do little tiny things. It could be something like going for a walk in the morning when you usually go for a walk in the evening. It could be trying out a new restaurant. It could be asking a friend or a new friend to coffee. Like anything that can get you out of your normal routine will help. And I'm saying that from experience because there was, a long time, probably it could be like a year or so. Last year, the year before, there was a long period of time where I just kind of felt stale and stuck in just like business, in my, home life, because I was working from home and just all the things. So I totally feel you if you are feeling that way too, and just try to get out, reach out and do something different. And if you need any ideas, you can reach out to me too, because I've definitely been there. What I wanted to talk to you today is to give you 4 tips on LinkedIn, because as I was researching and being on this new platform with Buzzsprout, I was looking at some of the episodes that got the most not viewers, but listeners. And one of the podcasts that I did back in November was about LinkedIn and different things that you can be doing on LinkedIn as recruiters. And so I thought now would be a perfect time. I'm not going to go over the things that I went over before, but I want to share with you 4 things that you might want to check on LinkedIn, because for whatever reason, sometimes you can set the settings in LinkedIn and then you just kind of set it and forget it, and you don't realize that somehow something's changed until, I don't know if you've ever done that, but I have. And then you go back in, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize the setting was this way. So the first one is about settings on LinkedIn, and it's to make sure that your connections are private. I know this sounds really like duh, but just go back in, go to settings, and make sure your connections are private, especially if you're a newer recruiter and maybe haven't thought of it. Everyone that you connect with, you want to make sure that people, sometimes if you go on there and you have like mutual connections, you can still see, oh, we have all of these, people in common. I think that's great, but you want to protect your connections, because if it's not private, someone could go and click in there and actually see every single person that you're connected with, even if they're not. So just double check. The second thing is you have to determine, and this is kind of just a good question to ask yourself, do I want to show up on LinkedIn all the time with my complete profile visible to everyone? Or do I want to, and this is when like you look at someone else's profile, there's like visibility. So you can show up as your full profile, or you can show up, I think, just with your company, but not your name, or you can be completely anonymous. And I think that there's times where you want to show up, like let's say you are looking for either for a new client or for a candidate that you're reaching out to that has a really great background. You want them to know, hey, Sharon looked at my profile. Who is she? Because there's more chance that they're going to click on you and get interested, especially if you have your profile page set up where it's really intriguing and attracting your avatar. And we can talk about that, on another episode, but you want to really think about, when you want that to be visible and when you want it to be anonymous. There are times when you want to be anonymous. You want to, and this is like one of them, for example, if you are gathering data on your competitors, or a situation where you just want to do some research, but you don't necessarily want to tell that person that you're looking at their profile, then you want to be anonymous. And you can just go into the settings, change it, do your research, because it is super important to look at competitors or look at people that show up really well on LinkedIn and try to get some good ideas, like get inspo. And again, you could do that visible, like just be you and have it public. But there are times, like if you want to check out your competitors, then, put it on anonymous, do your research, and then go back and change it. So that's number 2. 3, I know you know this, but recommendations are huge. We tell our candidates to do that, but do we do that? At the beginning of the year, I would say now's a really great time. Go back through, and if you can identify maybe past clients from last year or clients that you did a really great job with, make sure that you're sending and asking them, hey, would you mind if you give me a recommendation on LinkedIn? Usually they'll say yes, and you can just do that automatically. Like you can send, I know you probably know this, but you can just send that request and then do the same for them. And that will go a long way, especially for new candidates or new clients that are looking at your profile. The more recommendations that you have, the better. And then number 4, this is a really, I think, an interesting one. I just got a new iPhone, so that's another new thing. And I just switched over, and one of the things that I've seen is that when people call you, sometimes their photo will come up on your home screen, or when you're going to call them, or they text you, their photo will come up. I've never had that. And I thought, you know what? How do people do that? So I had to Google around, and it's so simple. And you guys, again, might know this, but on your iPhone, I have an iPhone. So on your iPhone, all you'll do is you'll go into your own contact, like set yourself up as your own contact, and you can add your photo. And when you do that, that's the photo that will appear when you text someone, when you give them a call. Just the more like facial recognition someone has of you, like a candidate or a client, the more real you are, especially if you haven't met them in person and you're doing everything virtual, the more that you can show up with your brand, your face, the more they're going to remember you and feel like they're close to you as far as, you being a professional recruiter for them. So check that out. Also, too, if you get a new phone, it might automatically do that right now, but I know in the past it hasn't. So put a good professional photo on there and check it out and try it, like test it, because you might be surprised. Sometimes, pictures can be taken and you won't even remember that it was maybe a picture from a long time ago. Maybe it was a picture that, when you're on vacation. Just make sure it's like a good professional profile that shows your brand, and make sure that you put that contact in there so people can recognize you when you are reaching out to them. So that's my 4 tips for today. And again, I'm super excited about all the new things and just adding value for you for 2025. And let me know if you have any questions. And otherwise, have a great week. And I'll be back in 2 weeks. And I'll have a great person on the podcast with me. So take care. Bye. Thanks for joining me today. I would love to hear what resonated with you or suggestions for a future show. Connect with me on LinkedIn and be sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter. All the links are in the show notes. And if you or someone you know is an amazing recruiter and is looking to join my brokerage recruiting model for more time, freedom, and money, let's chat.